The religious leaders were anxious to put Jesus to death, to be rid of him. But before they could, they needed Rome to approve of their death sentence. It was in the early morning hours that Jesus was taken to Pontius Pilate, who found no reason to charge him. Pilate had Jesus sent to Herod, who was in Jerusalem at the time. Jesus refused to answer Herod's questions, so Herod sent him back to Pilate. Although Pilate found Jesus innocent, he feared the crowds and sentenced him to death. Jesus was beaten, mocked, stripped naked, and given a crown of thorns. Matthew chapter 27 records, "Early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people made their plans how to have Jesus executed. So they bound him, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate the governor. Meanwhile, Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, 'Are you the king of the Jews?' 'You have said so,' Jesus replied. When he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate asked him, 'Don't you hear the testimony they are bringing against you?' But Jesus made no reply, not even to a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor. Now, it was the governor's custom at the festival to release a prisoner chosen by the crowd. At that time, they had a well-known prisoner whose name was Barabbas. So when the crowd had gathered, Pilate asked them, 'Which one do you want me to release to you, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called the Messiah?' For he knew that it was only out of self-interest that they had handed Jesus over to him. While Pilate was sitting on the judge's seat, his wife sent him this message, 'Don't have anything to do with the innocent man, for I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him.' But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. 'Which one of the two do you want me to release to you?' asked the governor. 'Barabbas,' they answered. 'What shall we do then with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?' Pilate asked. And they all answered, 'Crucify him.' 'Why? What crime has he committed?' asked Pilate. But they shouted all the louder, 'Crucify him.' When Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but that instead an uproar was starting, he took water and he washed his hands in front of the crowd. 'I am innocent of this man's blood,' he said. 'It is your responsibility.' All the people answered, 'His blood is on us and on our children.' Then he released Barabbas to them, but he had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium, and they gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and then they twisted together a crown of thorns, and they set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand. Then they knelt in front of him, and they mocked him. 'Hail, King of the Jews,' they said. They spit on him. They took the staff, and they struck him on the head again and again. And after they had mocked him, they took off his robe, and they put his own clothes back on him. Then they led him away to crucify him." Friends, this morning, we invite you to reflect in worship and to go to the Lord in prayer.